Playoff berths, postseason previews, and a top pitching prospect debuts in a wild day around MLB on Roberto Clemente Day. This is MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Thanks for being here for this edition of Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night. My name's Jon Frisch. I'm one half of Locked On Angels. With me is J.D. Hafron of Locked On Cardinals, who wants to remind you to help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Coming up on today's show, Blue Jays top pitching prospect Trey Yesavage makes his debut versus Tampa. The Cubs starting to look like the Cubs again against the Pirates. And, JD, another Yordan Alvarez injury. Before we get to all that, I want to thank our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. JD, we're taking it to the West Coast, the biggest game of the day as the Phillies meet the Dodgers in Los Angeles. Now, despite the loss yesterday, the Phillies clinched a playoff spot as the Giants took a loss to the Dodgers on Sunday. And in order to clinch the National League East, the Phillies would have to pick up a win against those very same Dodgers. They headed out to Los Angeles to begin a series of these two National League powerhouses. So, could the Phillies declare themselves the NL East champions while playing on the West Coast? Or would the Dodgers have something to say about that? Let's go to Connor Thomas of Locked On Phillies with the answer.
The Philadelphia Phillies are your 2025 National League East champions. Back-to-back division wins for the Phillies. We're drinking to this one tonight with the Kyle Schwarber beer. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. And what a game out in LA. Back and forth like crazy. Blown calls like crazy late in the game. Joan Duran gives up the lead in a save situation on a home run, his first given up as a Philly. But the Phils just keep battling. Harper, a big-time home run. Schwarber goes yard in this game. And David Robertson out of the pen. The trade deadline signing by Dave Dombrowski locks things down. And just like that, the Phillies run the East again. They've already clinched the postseason. They have clinched the division title, and they took a game on the Dodgers to try and clinch up one of the first-round buys. We'll talk so much more about your division champion Phillies on the next episode of Locked On Phillies. Now it's time to get some bed.
Yeah, what is it, like 1 o'clock, 1:30 out there in Philadelphia? Poor Connor, poor you.
Pretty close.
They kept us up all night waiting for this game and went to extra innings, of course, but the Phillies were able to come away with it. So congratulations to Connor and all of his everydayers over at Locked On Phillies. That beer, by the way, better be called Kyle Schwarber beer. And if it's not, I'm going to write a strongly worded letter. JD, when this season started, it was all Mets. Everything was coming up Mets. And now here we are, September 15th on the West Coast, talking about the Phillies clinching the National League East. What do you think about how things went down for them this season?
It wasn't unexpected. I actually had picked the Phillies to be the best team outside of the Dodgers in the National League this year. But to overcome losing Zach Wheeler like that's just, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just, unfortunate. And to not crumble, but actually have some of these guys step up, to see Aaron Nola pitch okay in a couple of games. I know he hasn't been great. He just got beat pretty bad the other day, but to see Christopher Sanchez become what he's become for Jesus Luzardo to, after he was so good at the beginning and then he fell apart and then he kind of built himself back up. Ranger Suarez, who got the start tonight for Philly, he's been outstanding as well. They've got a lot of talent and they don't have Trey Turner right now and they just keep rolling. They got they're very, very good. They pull off Dave Robertson off of his couch and just are like, hey, you want to maybe go to the postseason? He's like, all right, hold on.
Fine.
Let me stretch out the arm, see if
Let me find my shoes.
Yeah, like, they make the deals at the deadline. They got one of the best teams money can buy, and they proved it throughout the year by staying pretty consistent the whole way. So congratulations to them. I think they're the team to beat in the NL, except for the Dodgers, because they're still the champs. So I'm always going to give them that, okay, until they get beat, they're still the guys. But I still think Philly's got like the better overall team.
Yeah. And shout out to Christopher Leclerc in the chat, said, I just subscribed on my phone and iPad. And then he said, New York Mets may not make the playoffs. And that is becoming a very real situation. And of course, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on with the Diamondbacks and Giants game. Of course, that's certainly something to watch as well. So congrats again to the Phillies and all of their fans for another year atop the National League East. Let's take it American League West, and let's take it to Texas, where the Rangers, they want a piece of that postseason play, and they'd have to face the Houston Astros to make a case. Houston is now holding the third wild card spot in the American League after the Mariners took first place in the AL West over the weekend, doing some damage and sweeping my pathetic Angels over the weekend. Couldn't even get a win, JD, but in this one between the Rangers and the Astros, listen to this, some big playoff implications here. Per ESPN, a win for the Rangers in this game bumps their postseason chances from 42% to 56%, while the Astros could go from 66% making the postseason to 77% with a win today. Now, the Rangers sent Jack Leiter to the mound, who's been on a roll lately. He's allowed 3 runs or fewer in his last 14 consecutive starts, a 3.30 ERA over that stretch, and just 5 home runs in his last 71 innings. Could Jack get the job done against the Astros, push their playoff hopes even higher? Not this time. It was a 6-3 Astros win, and now they just sit a half game back behind the Mariners for first place in the American League West. We've got Eric of Locked On Astros, who's got good news and bad news coming out of this Astros win in Houston.
The Houston Astros get their 82nd win of the season. The bad news is the fact that they may have lost Yordan Alvarez for the rest of the season. He has a left ankle sprain. The severity of it is unknown. They're going to wait for the swelling to go down, have an MRI tomorrow to see how bad it is. But if he misses any significant time, this will put a hamper on the Astros' hopes to regain the AL West. But a win against the Rangers tonight was a big step forward. My name is Eric Heisman with the Locked On Astros podcast, and Zach Cole has been the wonder kid, a rookie sensation. It reminds us of what Evan Carter was for the Rangers the year they won the World Series. So can he have the same effect with the Houston Astros? And Jason Alexander showed that he was human. We'll talk about this and more on tonight's Locked On Astros podcast.
George Costanza, a.k.a. Jason Alexander, on the mound.
I feel like that dude starts every third game for the Astros. He's always there. Because we always say, we're always like, Seinfeld. He's always pitching for him.
I think it's the way it falls on our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday hosting schedule. We always get the Costanza days. Now, it was Zach Cole who entered and replaced the injured Yordan Alvarez. He got injured in the first inning. He was coming home from second base, ran over home plate. His foot slipped on top of the bag, and I don't know if you saw the video, but it was pretty nasty. It was just a freak thing, but it doesn't look good for Yordan. Now, Zach Cole, to his credit, 6 for 13 with 2 home runs, and one of those home runs came on the very first pitch he saw in the majors against the Braves last Friday, and he's got 7 RBIs in his first 4 major league games. Real quick, JD, the biggest rivalry in baseball, it's not, Dodgers, Padres, Phillies, Mets. It's the Astros versus the injury bug, isn't it?
Man, they've been going through it this year. And I know that a lot of people still frown upon the Astros because of what happened back in the day, and that's fine. But that roster has not been together at all this year. No. And we were talking, Brian and I last night doing MLB Game Night, we're discussing this, where I give them credit for sticking around as long as they have, but like they just keep getting bit by the injury bug over and over, and it just hasn't stopped. And eventually it was going to catch up to them. And like I said, it's been a lot of credit to them for being where they are as late as they are. But I don't know if they can keep this thing going. Seattle's gone pretty good less in the second half, and they've been on a bit of a heater recently. So like the Mets over in the NL side of things, Houston might be the team that falls off.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things play out in the West because everything is so close together. And the Rangers, they may have lost today, but they're still in this fight, and it could certainly end up in a wild card spot. Hey, the Blue Jays send their top pitching prospect to the mound. He dazzles in his debut, and a Reds rookie is off to a great start in Cincinnati. That's coming up and much, much more on MLB Game Night.
Today's show being brought to you by Nutrafol. Now, you've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, yeah, right, like that actually works. But there are a lot of products out there, and I get it. You don't know which ones you can trust and which ones are actually going to do anything for you, and that's why you need to give Nutrafol a closer look if you haven't already. They are the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's trusted by over 1.5 million people. That many people can't be wrong, can they? And it's not just hype. This is a supplement that is clinically tested, and it targets the root causes of the thinning and the shedding, and it does it with a proactive approach. Nutrafol is a very simple thing to add to your daily routine. You just take 4 pills with a meal. No prescription is needed, and you can feel good about it because Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. You'll see thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. And for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and you enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That's one word, Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. Today's show also being brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live, especially when you get down to this time of year where everything's on the line and the pennant races are getting closer and closer. But getting tickets to go see these games live, that can be the tough part with the queues and the login screens and the surprise fees. Really takes all the fun out of purchasing tickets to go see your favorite team. And that's why we use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It is fast, it is easy, it is backed by the Gametime guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. The wife and I just got soccer tickets the other day on Gametime. She went to some other app, and I was like, no. We go Gametime, and it was cheaper, and boom, they were right there on my phone in less than 2 minutes. Like, it was beautiful. All the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. Honestly, faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've ever bought tickets. So do what I do. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB, get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today.
Back here on a Locked On MLB Game Night, where it's every game, every night. We're taking you to Minnesota, where the New York Yankees met the Twins. They were able to take 2 out of 3 from Boston over the weekend, help them maintain their lead in the American League wild card. And they went to Minnesota to face the Twins that they've historically beat up on since 2015. So we're wondering, would the Bronx Bombers continue that trend in today's game? We've got Brian, of course, from Locked On Yankees and MLB Game Night on Sunday night. He's got his takeaways from this first game in the series.
Yankees dropped game 1 of the series to Minnesota 7-0, and I take some positives and some sure negatives out of this game. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees. First, it's the first game of this series. They still have 2 more left against Minnesota, and after the way they came out of that 12-game stretch that we constantly talked about, I kind of sit here and give the Yankees a little bit of a leg off, a little bit. I'm not going to kill them too much for losing this game. Still don't want to lose games to the Minnesota Twins, but they don't play this team poorly ever, so I'm going to have a little confidence going into the rest of this series. My positives: Carlos Rodon gave you 6 strong innings, struck out 4, only gave up 2 earned, only walked 1. He seems like he's tuning up for the postseason, and I liked his start a lot, really battled. Negatives: Luke Weaver. not good enough, needs to figure his stuff out immediately. And what really was annoying, another pitcher with a 4 ERA gets to the Yankees as per usual. We'll be talking about all of it, and you can follow the trend of the rest of this series on Locked On Yankees.
Yeah, as Brian mentioned, Rodon took the tough luck loss in this one, despite pitching very well. And the Yankees could only muster 2 hits up the whole entire game. They did have 5 walks between Trent Grisham and Aaron Judge. And Luke Weaver could only record 1 out in relief, and that was a sacrifice bunt. So it doesn't even really count, honestly. Austin Martin for the Twins had a bases clearing double that ended Weaver's day. Simeon Woods Richardson, the starter for the Twins, had a career high 11 strikeouts in his start for the Twins. Now, JD, I just mentioned it earlier. I witnessed the Mariners rotation set season high strikeouts and career high strikeouts against the Angels, including our favorite Brian Woo. It's never a good thing to be the team that helps someone set a career high something. And with the Yankees, they're first in the league in home runs, but they're third worst in the league in strikeouts. Are they still that feast or famine, all or nothing team that we've seen all season long?
Yes. Yes, they absolutely are. That is their game. Their game is to club you with a 3-run home run whenever they can. And if they piece a run or 2 together in the meantime, great, but that's not their goal. Their goal is to take you out with big bombs from Judge and Belly, and with Ryan McMahon now and Trent Grisham, who's having an insane year for them out of nowhere. That's what they're all about. They're about strikeouts with their starting pitching. They're about home runs with their hitting, and with that comes the ability to strike out a lot as well. So it has worked out for them for the most part this year. So I wouldn't suspect that just because things become postseason that they're going to change their ways.
Yeah, that's really key right there. Just because the calendar flips to October doesn't make a difference. Now, my Angels are first worst in strikeouts and 5th best in home runs. I ain't in no stinking playoffs. What the heck? How come it didn't work out for us? Listen, let's take it to Tampa, where the Blue Jays sit comfortably at the top of the AL East and the best record in the American League, and they head down to Tampa to face the Rays. Now, it's not enough for them to have the best record in the American League and be in first place. They said, hey, why don't we call up our top pitching prospect too? So Trey, truly, madly, deeply, Yesavage. I got to give you credit for that one for JD. He got the call on Monday. He's the Blue Jays' first-round pick, 20th overall from 2024. Started the year in Single A and made his MLB debut on September 15th. So to find out how it went, let's turn it over to Braden of Locked On Blue Jays with the details on Yesavage's debut.
Massive MLB debut for Trey Yesavage. Trey sets a Blue Jays franchise record for most strikeouts in an MLB debut. Huge hat tips to the kid. Showed up first inning, little hit and miss, little iffy, but then he dials it in. What an outing. I mean, the Blue Jays just did not want to help this guy out at all. The offense couldn't do a thing until the 8th inning when they finally get a run across. And we were asking a ton of Braden Fisher to come in, go 2 innings, get the win, get the save, 4 strikeouts. What a day from this man right here. A 18 strikeout day for this pitching staff. What a day. What a Blue Jays win. Let's go.
That made it 5 straight wins for the Jays. And with the Yankees lost today, they gained a game in the division in the American League East. Yesavage, to his credit, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 9 Ks, as Braden mentioned. And then it was another Braden Fisher, who finished the game in the 10th and the 11th inning, because this one had to go to extras, tied at 1-1. George Springer drove in Ernie Clement in the top of the 11th. And Fisher was the guy for that moment. He's got a whip, a walks and hits per innings pitch of 0.99, just 99% of a player getting on base in each inning that he throws. And he's got a 2.78 ERA across 47 appearances after this game. JD, I was looking at Blue Jays social media, and I saw Jays fans are just ready to give Fisher the closer job over Jeff Hoffman. How would you handle that if you were in charge?
I mean, best man wins, dude. You get to this point of the year and you can't be screwing around with this. There's the blowing saves and, that can't happen anymore. Those times are done. And Fisher has been, like you mentioned, the whip is huge, 7-0. He's got 60 Ks in 45 and a third innings. I mean, that's closer type stuff right there. That is exactly what you want. You're not putting people on. You're not giving a lot of hits, and you're striking out dudes. A lot of swing and miss there. So why not? Why not? At this point, let's see how it goes for the next couple of weeks and, roll into the postseason with your, feeling very, very confident about the back end of your bullpen where I'm sorry, but Hoffman, everybody's very sketchy about him because he has not had a great year.
No, he certainly has not. And like you said, with the Yankees, your ways aren't going to change just because things are October now. And if you don't have that trust in Jeff Hoffman, I think this is the right time to give the guy a chance and give Fisher the ability to, show what he's got, demonstrate what he's got. I had to laugh because Braden pointed to his picture in the video on the video side. He said, "This man right here is like the most baby face kid I've ever seen in my life." I'm just getting old, JD. I think that's what it is. Hey, the Cubs needed their offense to click. Did it click on Monday? We'll find out in just a minute on MLB Game Night.
Today's show being brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here. We just wrapped up week 2 on Monday night. We had 2 Monday Night Football games. And FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you will get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I like using FanDuel because, first off, it's real simple to use. I'm not somebody who likes to get too much of the numbers. Like, I want it to be easy. I want to be able to place my bet and get out and roll and do whatever else I need to do that day. And FanDuel fits however it is that you want to bet. You want to go player props? You can do that. You want to build the same game parlay? Go for it. They got that too. Or you want to jump in live as the action unfolds? You can do that as well. FanDuel is quick, easy. It's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays or your Mondays or your Thursdays or whatever time you're actually watching the game that you're betting on. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
We've got your Cardinals meeting the Reds, JD. They hosted them in St. Louis. Why don't you take us down to St. Louis for us?
Do I have to? Do I have to do it?
It's in the job description. I'm sorry.
All right. So here's leading into this. Reds got swept in Sacramento against the A's over the weekend, but somehow, some way, they're still hanging around in this NL wild card because nobody seems to want to go to the playoffs in the National League. They just all keep losing and just like, we'll get to it. Cardinals are coming off a 1-5 road trip to Seattle and Milwaukee, playing 2 of the best teams in Major League Baseball. Played them tough, but finished 1-5, which is par for the Cardinals this year because they're just not a very good team. And for the first few innings in this one, we actually had a nice pitchers duel going between Red starter Zach Littell and the Cardinals' Matthew Liberatore. 7th inning, 4-3 Cardinals is the score. Bullpen, which has been a very strong spot for the Cardinals this year, even after the trade deadline, despite shipping off 3 of their best arms, they only needed 9 outs. 9 outs, and instead they gave up 8 runs, which was not part of the plan. They didn't have any of their A-list arms because they had to use them in Milwaukee in back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday. So they handed the game over to Chris Roycroft first, and he immediately blows the lead. He only gets 1 out and allows 3 runs to score. The offense comes back to tie it. They fight back, yay. Then they bring in Ryan Fernandez, another guy who has been terrible this year. He comes in, he walks 2 guys, gives up a hit to give the lead right back to the Reds. Kyle Leahy comes in. He's had a long season. He's been good for the most part, but he's starting to show some wear and tear, pitching as much as he has for the Cardinals. He gets torched for 4 runs in 1 inning of work. Final score ends up being 11-6, even though it was a much closer game than that throughout. Roycroft has an ERA of 7.41. Fernandez has an ERA of 9. For September, he's at 14.73. Why are they still on this roster is my question. Why are they here to ruin games for this ball club? It is so frustrating to know that that's what you have to go to. And right. I can only imagine what the players feel. They're like, oh, God, you're going to bring in Roycroft, aren't you? Here we go. Just a brutal night for the Pen, who has blown 2 of their last 3 games in Mount Vesuvius-like proportions. So that's my side of it. For the other side of it, how about we check in with Locked on Reds host Jeff Carr? Take it away, bud.
Continues to seem unlikely. The math still says that the Reds are alive, and I mean, that's something, right? What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and the Cincinnati Reds won 11-6 on Monday over the St. Louis Cardinals in St. Louis, and with the Mets off, that means that they are just now 2 games out of that final wild card spot. And, I mean, all kidding aside about the playoffs, this is kind of a big series as the Reds look to maybe just beat up on their division rivals. If they're able to sweep the Cardinals, and that's a big if, because the Cardinals have played them very well this year, but if they're able to sweep them, then they will clinch a winning season against their division rivals for the back-to-back time. They beat them last year as well. That'll be the first time they beat them in back-to-back seasons since the turn of the century. 99-2000 was the last time that the Reds went 2 seasons in a row of winning baseball against the Cardinals. That's what we're talking about. And Sal Stewart's the guy that's helping them out. 3-hit night, another home run. He's got 4 homers in his first 37 career at-bats for the Reds. Bright future for this dude. Looking forward to him in the lineup a lot more. Make sure you check out the next Locked On Reds podcast for more.
Geez, Jeff, why don't you just rub that thumb in JD's bruise a little bit more? I think he did it on purpose, JD, knowing that you were going to host tonight.
I have no doubt Jeff did that on purpose.
He mentioned Sal Stewart, the number 30 prospect per MLB Pipeline in the whole game. He raised his OPS to 919 after this 3-hit game. And with his home run, that went 112.6 off the bat. So a huge night.
He hit the French fries in Big Mac land in left center field, just boom, like an absolute rocket off his bat. Like this kid, he swings with purpose, dude. He's definitely a name to keep an eye on if you haven't gotten a chance to check him out yet.
Yeah, keep him in mind for my fantasy league next year. Chicago Cubs head to Pittsburgh to face the Pirates. They've been searching for their swing as the postseason looms. They'd have to face the tough Pirates pitching with Braxton Ashcraft taking the mound, bringing his 2.47 ERA along with him entering today's game. So could the Cubbies find their swing again? And which sleeping bat woke up against Pittsburgh? Here's Sam of Locked On Cubs on which hitter seems to have found it and why they need him heading into the postseason.
On yesterday's show, we talked about how the Cubs need PCA back. Well, tonight was a start. I'm Sam Olber from the Locked On Cubs podcast. Cubs shut out the Pirates 4-0. Jameson Taillon was fantastic. Michael Busch hit a solo home run. Old reliable Brad Keller came in with the bases loaded, 2 outs in the 9th to shut the door. But the big story of the game was PCA hit a no-doubter home run, a rocket double, stole third base. Now has 29 home runs, 35 steals, 1 more homer for Pete, and he gets to that 30-30 club. Look, I don't have to repeat myself, but I will. Cubs need PCA to raise this ceiling. They need Kyle Tucker to be Kyle Tucker. And that was a nice start today. That was a nice start. Nico Horner, another base hit. And it was just kind of one of those games that felt in control from the first pitch. The Cubs haven't had a lot of easy victories today. It got a little dicey in the 9th with Porter Hodge. But like I said, Keller came in and did the job. Cubs win. That is win number 86 for those of you on FanDuel that had over 85.5, like myself. Congratulations. Go Cubbies.
Nice little plug for FanDuel right there. Yeah, the Cubs did get to the Pirates starter, Braxton Ashcraft. He gave up 3 earned runs in 4 innings, including a wild pitch that allowed Nico Horner to score. But it's not going to matter much when the offense only puts up 3 hits. They can't score. Pirates went 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. On the other side of things, we've got Gary of Locked On Pirates. And while he's got the fall decorations up, his hopes for the offense moving forward are way down.
The Bucks got shut out again. Yeah, that's kind of what they're good at this year. It really is. You know, this is Gary from Locked On Pirates. Just once, I'd like to see these decorations up and be watching competitive baseball. For just once. Just to see what it's like. I mean, 3 hits. They're just not competitive. It's not actually speaking well for Don Kelly, somebody that I think a lot of us have felt probably pretty darn safe heading into next year. The way they're finishing, it's not all his fault, but it's also not speaking well of him, is it? More on this tomorrow morning on Locked On Pirates.
Yeah, Pirates got a lot of decisions to make in this upcoming offseason. Now, we mentioned it earlier, nobody in the National League wants to win and go to the playoffs, but all of a sudden the Diamondbacks, they've slithered their way back into the NL wildcard picture. They've gone 17-13 in their last 30 games coming into Monday's start against the Giants. And the Giants are 14-6 in their last 20. Zach Gallen got the ball for Arizona, has an ERA over 5 in the first half of the season. And since then, much more respectable 3.77 ERA. And he was on tonight against San Francisco. 6 innings pitched, 1 run, 2 hits, 6 strikeouts. The lone run came on a Casey Schmidt home run in the third. It was a 1-1 ball game until the 6th, and that's when the Snakes offense started spitting venom, JD. A 2-run single by Vargas, an RBI double by Jordan Lawler, and then a 2-run shot by James McCann made it 6-1, and they never looked back, and the Diamondbacks took it 8-1 over the Giants. Geraldo Perdomo goes 3 for 5, knocks in 2. That win leaps the Diamondbacks into the top spot behind the Mets, just 1.5 games back, followed by the Reds and the Giants, who are both 2 back. This team sold at the deadline. Like, they sold. And I think that they've just had guys stepping up in the absence of guys like Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor. Like, they've just been able to turn to the guys they have in their pipeline, and it's certainly paying off as they head toward the end of the season. All right, JD, take us to Chicago, where the Orioles met the White Sox.
All right, fantasy baseball people, if any of you are still in your playoffs like I am, Kyle Bradish was a name that people were circling. That all right, he's got a nice matchup here against the White Sox. Remember, didn't make his first start of the season until August 26th, recovering from Tommy John surgery. But he's been awfully good ever since he came back. On Monday against the White Sox, gave up just 1 run over 5 innings of work. He strikes out 9 to pick up his first win of the season. Produced 17 whiffs on 39 swings. That's a 43.6% whiff rate, which is the 3rd highest single game rate of his entire career. Offensively, the O's backed him up with a 3-run top of the 6th inning, highlighted by Colton Cowser's 3-run Oppo Taco to left field, his 15th of the season. And the Orioles go on to defeat the White Sox by a score of 4-1.
Ooh, I want some tacos now. All right, finally, Braves meeting the Nationals in D.C. Spencer Strider, he struggled to say the least after coming back from Tommy John surgery. Had only 5 wins on the year coming into this game and was 0-4 in August with an ERA over 10 and hadn't won a game since July 28th, man. He's trying to end his season on a good note. And he had a good one going tonight. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, just 1 earned run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. The Braves offense lit up Nats starter Mitchell Parker for 6 runs, 10 hits across 5 innings. The big blow came from Matt Olson, Ollie time, who hit a 3-run shot in the 5th to make it 5-1, his 26th of the year. Acuna Jr. hit his 17th. Drake Baldwin hit his 16th, both in the 9th inning. Baldwin and Olson each drove in 4. James Wood, on the other hand, for the Nationals, 0 for 4. Now listen to this. Pre-All-Star break, he was hitting 278, 24 home runs, 69 RBIs, but after the All-Star break, just 219, only 3 home runs, and 19 RBIs. Got to give him some credit, though, for the way he started. I'm sure it's a very long season for a guy who's playing his first full season in the majors. So I'm still going to keep an eye.
Very similar to what PCA did with the Cubs. Like, they got very similar numbers where both of them just like crazy monster numbers in that first half, and then things have just went in the second half so far. One of them's going to the playoffs, though, and can right the ship. The other one going to be going home.
Yeah, unfortunately for him and his Nationals. All right, y'all, thank you for joining us for this episode. Don't forget to hit that like button, share us, and subscribe, of course, if you haven't done so already. We hope you'll come back and visit us tomorrow night on MLB Game Night, where it's every game, every night.